Good to see everyone. It's a great time of the year for us. Get to get back out on the practice field again. Never gets old. Really, really fun time of the year as you start over and you rebuild your team literally from the ground up. I know we met here just a couple of weeks ago talking about our signees, getting an opportunity to get them in front of you. Hopefully y'all enjoyed that, and as you continue to build relationships with them, I think it was great for them. They had a great time with y'all, so appreciate y'all giving them a bunch of softballs, a bunch of layups, and but we've been really, really busy for the last 2.5 months, and from program installation, we got 26 players that this is the first time they've been on the squad here at mid-year, and a few new coaches. Obviously self-scouting, studying other people, finding ways that we can be better on and off the field, efficiency-wise, making the improvement where we need to, really taking a good hard look at ourselves, and then building our players from a strength and conditioning standpoint, speed standpoint, all the while developing, the right kind of mindset and getting our players a very clear vision of what it takes to be successful. But building team morale and chemistry and leadership, challenging our guys in a variety of ways, both on and off the field, is what we've really, worked on here for the last several weeks. I'm really excited about this group of guys. There's a hunger and an edge to them. Great humility, willingness to work and do the hard things that we ask them to. Have really responded in a big time way. A lot of speed and strength gains across the board. Really excited about the improvement that we've seen from that standpoint. And with the recruiting class, evaluating these guys, obviously playing the game of football is what it's all about. You don't win in a pair of shorts. You got to put pads on, and you got to block and tackle and catch and execute and all those types of things. So we'll continue the evaluation process of these guys. But what I love about them, again, as I said before, football intelligence seems to be a strength of this group of guys, and guys that are willing to come and work every day, a very focused, driven, group of newcomers, and as well as the guys that are returning. Obviously, we've comparing where we were a year ago with percentage of experience and offense and defense. A little bit less than what we had a year ago at this time, but I really feel like we've improved our football team over the last several months through both recruiting and development, and some of the returning guys' experience that we have coming back. The couple of new additions we've hired Seth Luttrell as an offensive analyst. Great opportunity for us to get better on staff with former Oklahoma Sooner. Obviously, his dad was a heck of a player, owns 2 national championships to Seth's 1. So Dad's still got the upper hand, but the guy that's been, around the country, and he's been a head football coach, and did a fantastic job while he was at North Texas, and one of my favorite players that I didn't coach per se, but one of my favorite players, a guy I loved having in the locker room when I was here, when Seth was a young player. Then we've also hired James Skowski as a graduate assistant on defense. Great player at Clemson, and somebody that's really just plugged right in. Is really going to our players are really going to benefit from having him. We have one player with a position change, Marcus Hicks. We're going to let him try out defensive line and give him an opportunity. I know he was recruited as a jumbo guy that could be either or, and really he wanted an opportunity to show what he could do on the defensive line. So hopefully we can keep him healthy and give him a chance. He's been banged up a lot, and so hopefully he can have a healthy spring and strengthen us on the defensive line. And so he's made the switch. I know we already talked about DJ Graham, moving from a defensive back to receiver. Guys that are going to miss the spring, just give you kind of an injury update here. First of all, just thankful that, and I won't speak a whole lot about it other than Gentry Williams. I know there was an episode here, exertional collapse is what they've termed it. His labs have all checked out, and we're getting the labs again today, and he has a cardiac clearance meeting tomorrow, so we'll see where that is. But really proud of the response by the medical staff, and we're always looking at ways to make sure that our players' safety and health is first and foremost, and just thankful that Gentry appears to have gotten himself out of harm's way and recovered just fine. But Kadem Helms, he has a knee patella thing going on, so he probably will miss all of the spring. Jason Llewellyn got just a midfoot issue with a growth plate. He'll miss all of spring. Eric McCarty tore his ACL late in the playoffs, and he's been here. His rehab has gone really, really well. Amika Amegwa, he's also just had a surgery to clean some stuff up, but he had a meniscal and a ACL injury prior to getting here. Walter Rouse had a shoulder labrum surgery. Will miss, and that was back in December. So nothing that was new to us, but he'll miss all of spring. And then Jacob Sexton is really recovering nicely from his ACL in the Florida State game. Other than that, we really expect, we have some guys that are going to be a little bit limited. Trace Ford, he'll be a little bit limited, but we really feel like he's going to work and progress into full speed work by the end of sometime in the spring. And then Kelvin Gilliam, Jaden Rowe, and Shane Woody are all coming off of shoulder surgeries, but they're all progressing really well. The surgeries were all done prior to the end of the season, and really like where they're at. They'll participate mostly in just indie stuff, individual drills, non-contact. So got plenty of guys with bumps and bruises, and we still got Booty and some kind of contraption to protect his finger that dislocated. But he'll be ready at some point in time here quickly, and again, just the normal bumps and bruises. So with that, just remind everybody the spring game's the 22nd, and it's at 2:30. Contrary to a lot of y'all reporting that we're going to be at 11 a.m., it's actually going to be at 2:30. So time to pack the palace again and make this place a special place at that time. And then lastly, we had really thankful for Josh Norman and staff that took 11 players. They went down to Brazil over the break, just coming off a spring break, and guys gave up their spring break to go serve down in Brazil, and so I thought that was a great experience for those guys. So anxious for them to get back and share some of their experiences with our players. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions.
Start on the right side, Ryan Aber.
Yeah, Brent, we found out some more, a little bit more details about the proposed new facility. When you go over that and everything that y'all want to be a part of that, what to you is the biggest need, or maybe a couple of the biggest needs in adding that?
Well, everything matters, first and foremost. And, a facility for many people is where you train and become a great football player. But to me, all these kids are going away from home for the first time. So for me, I want a home. I want a home that's efficient, a home that's connected. Efficiency is a very important thing. You get 8 hours in the out of season, you get 20 hours during the season, and just like that, it goes by quick. This is the only program in all of college football in the top 10 that the football facility isn't connected to the indoor facility. And so as we know, the weather gets pretty crazy around here, and at the drop of a hat, you got to leave the practice field because of lightning or whatever is getting ready to happen from a weather standpoint. And you either are able to finish practice by going to the indoor, or your practice is canceled. And so there's a lot that goes into it. We want to create a home. Most importantly, a place that that has everything that we need. That's from both a training, a development standpoint. We want to be the best in the country at development, and we want to be a developmental program. We don't want it to become what again the NFL is, and the NFL is. It's all about just the money. And, no matter what happens in college football, we know that the genie's out of the bottle. We know that. Okay, I think we're all in agreement. But the difference is the majority of the guys are not going to have an opportunity to play in the NFL. All right, the majority of the guys, all right, 99.9% of them have a lot of growing up and development to do. I'm not talking about football. I'm just as young men finding their way in life. And so you do all that through relationships, through a home, through efficiency, both on and off the field matters. And so, we're not going to change course in regards to, what's most important. What is the purpose of the program? Is to graduate our players, give them tools to be great husbands and fathers and leaders. Make sure they have that degree in hand. I mean, that's going to open more doors and create more opportunity for them than anything that football will. And so you provide an environment that's conducive to those things, and then you want to have fun. College should be fun too, and you do that again through the football family. Create an environment where it promotes that, and it's not a transactional experience for them, where you go to the ATM and you push the button and you spit your money out and you don't talk to anybody, and but you got your money and mission accomplished. Or, you got to get out of your car, you got to go into the lobby, and you got to have a conversation, and you got to, communicate with people. And we want to be, again, a relationship-driven program, one that it's a lifetime experience in relationship for these guys. And again, a ton of development. And so, again, my values and my compass, and I make decisions. It's, one of the things that's a filter for that is as a dad and as a parent. And I want our guys to, to have a place where it goes well beyond the football field. And I know where college football is the landscape, and there's the potential pay for play and all that. But that's not going to change the vision of this program in regards to development of people. And I think that's the greatest calling of coaching, is the development of people. And I'm not going to, the bottom dollar is not going to change my mindset in that way. So, there is a recruiting aspect to everything. Some people say, oh, the facilities don't matter. Like, says who? This is where they're going to live. They're going to spend a lot of time. And these guys are going to, travel, past a lot of places where we're recruiting, a lot of great places. And so you want to create an environment that, and have something to showcase that's the best in college football, whether that's the strength and conditioning, the elite recovery, the nutrition centers, a dining facility where you build a lot of relationships. You want to create an environment where they can have fun and they can connect. And so there's things that, that go along with that. And not only do they want to come, they want to see it, but they want to stay and they want to be a part of it. And so, finding, a facility that can also be a communal place from a family standpoint is a big part of it too. These families share in the ups and the downs and the highs and the lows of these kids. These moms care about all the players that her sons are friends with. These dads care about the kind of young men that they bring home with them. And so we want to create a place here too that when they do come on game day, that they have this amazing place to share in the journey together as well. And I think it's one thing to promote yourself as family, and then you walk in and it's really cold and nobody talks to anybody, and there's nowhere for these guys to, it's a maze, it's not a home. And so all of that matters. And it just like if you're out house shopping, and you have a real choppy layout as opposed to an open floor plan, there's a reason that most people like that open floor plan, and it's because you want to have the ability to connect and organically. So there's a lot to that. And again, the physical development piece, that's a very real thing. But it goes beyond just that. And right now we're trying to, what we want is the most efficient facility in all of college football.
Eric Bailey?
Brent, when you get to coach the portal newcomers for the first time on the field, how often have you been really pleasantly surprised with their development, where they're at, versus sometimes are there players where you look at them and you say, okay, we've got some work to do with this guy, stop maybe what we saw on film. Is there a balance between the two? Do you see both sides of it?
Well, I mean, so there's a maturity. Usually, it's a little bit different, just because they're older and they've whether they've been scarred up or they've played a lot and they've grown, they've matured. So their mindset a lot of times is different than maybe a freshman. So that can be an advantage, but you got to still at the same time find guys that are team guys. And so we really feel good about the group of guys that we brought in from team-centered leaders, where they're coming from, and then having the maturity to know how to go and compete every day, and that they believe inherently that you're going to get what you earn. And so those are the biggest things. But again, what you love about a young player is that you have all this opportunity to develop them, and guys that are going to be there for 3, 4, 5 years. By that 4th and that 5th year, by the time that comes around, these are guys that can play at a really, really high level consistently for you. So, the negative of the portal is the guys are in and out, and so can be constant turnover, and that, at the end of the day, that's not what you ideally want. You want continuity and stability on your roster. That's a good thing. Even if it's a little lesser talent, you get a guy for 3, 4, 5 years. Those 5th-year guys, man, they can play at a really high level, and they understand what winning football looks like, and they certainly understand inherently and deeply how you do what you do.
On this side, James Hale.
Brent, you go into the spring looking, you lost quite a bit of your wide receiver production, graduation, whatever. You just told us about a couple of tight ends are off. Talk about your receiving core going into spring and how those guys, who you expect to develop and come on for you.
Yeah, so, a couple of them were guys that were freshmen. Nick Anderson, was banged up most of the year last year. Jaden Gibson was still just really tall and skinny and learning how to have the right mindset every day. J.J. Hester is a young player still. He came in from Missouri and was hurt, had surgery and sat out all the year. Even Gavin Freeman, who we created a role for him, he didn't come in till late. So those are guys there, just to name a few, and Andrew Anthony as another newcomer, really guys that weren't in the competition last year for those reasons I just said. And so I think we're really excited about that group of guys. If you went down each one of them, what you loved about them, and take up everybody's time, but we did lose, quite a bit of our production from a receiving standpoint, but I really love that group of guys, in addition to, other guys that are returning that have played, Farouk and Drake in particular, as guys that, that we know can play winning football. And then we have a couple of signees that'll be coming in sometime in the first part of June that we also feel will be able to jump into the mix and hopefully help us as well. Mm-hmm.
Eli?
Brent, there were a lot of factors last fall, but statistically the defense for you dropped off from some years at Clemson and then even in your first run here as a defensive coordinator. Whether it's personnel or time, and we're obviously far off from playing real games, but what makes you confident? What elements are you confident about your defense this year and improving?
Yeah, just feel like foundationally we set a very clear vision of what the standards are, what the expectations are. Certainly we spend a lot of time at developing guys that are returning, so the returning experience is an advantage over what we had a year ago. Everybody was new. Again, I really feel like through recruiting, we've strengthened our roster positionally, particularly in the secondary. That's probably where I feel like, we made the most improvement, where you have based on what you've seen up to this point in time, and you still got to go prove it at every position across the board. But I really feel like, okay, we're better in the secondary. And we've added more bodies at other places. A number of the linebackers aren't here yet. But I really believe the front seven, the closer you get to the ball, the harder it is to play. And we'll find out, where we're at from that standpoint. But I've loved how everybody's worked. But I feel really good about the guys that we've added to the secondary, which is a place we really needed to improve. I think we had 8 secondary guys. But the biggest thing is year 2. I've always seen improvement and expect marked improvement. Learning how not to lose to Oklahoma, the fundamentals and the improvement there, the physical improvement from a strength and conditioning standpoint, and then the knowledge, the intimate knowledge that you got to have so that you can play fast, you can play sure of yourself, you can play with great fundamentals and technique, play aggressive within the scheme because of your sureness. And then we have improved through recruiting, as I said earlier, the football intelligence of this group of guys, the instincts of this group of guys is there, and so those are all things foundationally that it takes to be a good defense. So, if we can, from an efficiency standpoint, and we were poor in a lot of areas, but we defended the most possessions in all of college football. So we got to be more efficient in getting off the field, and then we got to be more efficient at on both sides of the ball of complimenting one another, not compensating for one another. And a good football team is going to complement one another. And so we got to do our part with the improvement. But I love the leadership, the hunger, the edge, the accountability. The awareness, all those things, that's how you grow and improve. And the improvement process, it can be very, very discouraging. And but foundationally, I know we have the right foundation, and then I believe in the guys that are in that locker room. And then what I've seen, and again, I really expect wherever we are today, by the time April 22nd gets here, that we're going to see improvement. And I just use years and years of experience. Never happens fast enough. And wherever we are by the end of next season, it still ain't going to be good enough. And I want our guys, the best of the best, are never satisfied. But I expect us to be on another planet defensively. Everybody else can talk about, projection of rankings and all those types of things. I just want to see improvement in all the basics, the fundamentals. Our guys played with good effort last year. We just didn't play or coach well enough in a lot of areas. And again, we got to continue to improve with our fundamentals, our techniques, our understanding, and again, the physicality that it takes to win. And win with great defense. And at the point of attack, we weren't very good last year. And, we got bullied around and beat up too much, whether it was outside on perimeter screens or at the point of attack on a quarterback counter. And got knocked off the ball and got ran through and just played bad defense. And if we put it on the field, it means we coached it. So we got to get better, coaches and players. But I really like the hunger and the toughness that these guys have attacked the out of season and the edge that they have going in to spring ball. And I think it takes those things first you asked me why I believe that we're going to be better. And that's why.
Bob?
Yeah, Brent, looking at the running back room, losing Eric Gray, not just the production, leadership, and that's such a young room. How do you try to balance that? You need to see more from Gavin, Javante, and Marcus, but you also don't want to put too much on to where they might get hurt throughout spring.
Yeah, I like the group of running backs that we have. We lost half of our rushing yards. I think we have 32% of our receiving yards coming back. We have 50% of our rushing yards coming back. So it's a little better than you'd probably think. Eric was fantastic, but remember, that was his first year starting. And everybody wondered going into last year, too, how are we going to replace Kennedy Brooks? And Eric really stepped up. He had his opportunity and really, stepped up and was a great leader. Wasn't real vocal, but he showed up and acted like a pro every day by his consistency and his toughness, had a great mentality, a willingness to go to work every day, responded to good, hard, tough coaching that DeMarco will give those guys. And I love our running backs. I really feel good about where we're at. They need to continue to improve, so you have to practice, and guys get bumps and bruises. That's part of the game. Nobody likes it, but that is, a byproduct of developing your team. And, you can't practice in a soft way and expect to play, hard, tough, physical way. So that's all going to be part of it on the journey. But it's a really good, strong group of guys that I think are really looking forward to having their opportunity to being the guy. But I think for us to be at our best, we're going to have good competitive depth. I believe that we have that. That'll be determined. And I like our leadership. These are guys that are accountable. DeMarco hasn't recruited guys that aren't accountable. And that's, the challenge for everybody, on staff is to find guys that, that value hard work, that value education, that value being a great teammate, that value, going through something, having to overcome something, having to fight through something. They value that they have a very clear vision, all the tough things that it takes to be great. And, as we say all the time, running towards the hard, that's a part of it, and having some failure along the way. So these are good, tough, mentally and physically players that we're talking about at the running back position. And again, the test of time will tell, but I really believe that Eric, if he did anything, he did a great job of showing guys how to lead. And, Javante and Gavin being guys that are returning, along with Marcus Major, who we're going to get back here to start things up, all have the right mindset to continue to do what Eric did for us last year.
Back to the right side, Barry.
Yeah, Brent, you talk about developing the defense, long-term development with third, fourth, fifth-year players. But does the portal give you a chance to make year-to-year big jumps with a unit? In other words, Bothroyd, Lacey, McCullough, Ford, whoever I'm leaving out. Does just the presence of a portal and the immediate eligibility give you an opportunity to take major steps in one single offseason?
I think it gives you that chance, no doubt. The things that they're bringing to the table, whether it's improved skill, the experience, having guys, you can't, it's hard to just manufacture experience. So within your roster, sometimes you have more of it returning than other times. This is an opportunity to bring the experience. And then the biggest thing to me, the biggest challenge is finding the right people. And, it's not like you have, a bunch of day one NFL draft picks that are available in the portal every year. And if there are, they don't last long. And you always got to kind of question why would they? What's the story? There's always a backdrop to it. So, I think that the key is being able to find guys that are good enough, that meet your needs. Hey, and sometimes look, we got to find some bodies that can come play, that can execute. Because of, again, you might have lost a bunch of guys at one position. We lost a bunch of guys up front, so we had to bring in a bunch of guys, both high school and portal. But it does let you bridge a gap quickly, but you got to find the right guys that are, again, are team guys that learn well, guys that are going to come and compete every day, guys that are available. They're healthy too. We took a chance on a few guys that we felt like that were worth it. That we're going to come in a little bit, overcoming some injuries from a previous year, and so we're hopeful that'll pay off as well. But you can definitely get better quickly with experience and maybe again improved players at particular positions. No doubt. But there's still a learning curve, and there's still guys having the willingness to come in and compete and handle adversity. And if they're not the first guy, first few days, the first few weeks, the first few games, how are they going to respond? Are they going to be still going to be good team guys and judge a player, in moments of adversity and strain, not when things are going great. And so we'll have a chance to see that during the course of the spring, and then certainly that'll all play itself out during the course of the year. But really excited about those guys on defense, and Reggie Pearson was another. I think you hit on about everybody else. And again, what we've seen, how these guys their mindset every day and their humility, and again the way they come and compete. That's been fun to see, whether it's Lacey or Bothroyd or Devin or Reggie, Desan. Those guys all have showed up with a hunger, like they got something to prove, and they got a lot that they have to continue to improve at. You know, a guy like Desan, he had shoulder surgery a year ago and coming out of high school, and so he didn't have a year of all this physical development, which he needs. His frame needs that. He's got a really good frame, but he's got you know, a lot of filling in still to do, which he will do over the course of time, and he's made some great gains already. But these guys, none of them are finished products. Some of them have played a little bit more, like a Bothroyd, than others, but Pearson's played quite a bit. And but we brought these guys in to make us better, and hopefully that's a starting position. If they're good enough to earn it, great. If not, that means that we're getting the best version of guys on our roster, and some guys that we took, some of that played into it too. Hey, let's bring in some competition here. That usually brings out the best in everyone.
George Doyle.
Hey, Brent, kind of going off that transfer portal stuff, over the last year, has your opinion or perspective on going into the portal changed when you see teams like TCU compete for a national title after going with all those roster turnover? And secondly, do you feel like you were more prepared this year to go into the portal than maybe last year?
Yeah, and I don't know what all TCU's, I know on offense they didn't have a ton of a turnover. I know they had a lot of returners, especially up front, a veteran offensive line and a quarterback that was a Heisman finalist that was not in the portal. And they did a great job, a really, really good job. But we have the same philosophy, you know, again, address your roster how it needs to be addressed. You have to be prepared to respond if you do lose a lot of guys. As I said, you know, we gave guys 12 months of grace. You know, when we got here 14 months ago, we had almost half the roster. We had a lot of work to do. There were some things, I know we had won some games, but you know, there was a lot of issues off the field that we had to fix, and a lot. And over the course of, you know, two teams, change and turnover after the Oregon game, and then certainly, you know, giving guys an opportunity to figure out if they wanted to, you know, live up to the standards and the expectations of our program, help guys that maybe needed to find a better opportunity to go play, and again, try to give guys the help that they need at some point in time. You know, you've got to be willing to make some good, tough decisions. It's the last year that we're able to sign more than the 25 initial scholarship, and so we wanted to take advantage of that. And so that's how we got to 37. And so that is not going to be the norm, but that's always going to be an opportunity for us to gain some experience and some playmaking, you know, where we see fit. When you have guys leave early for the NFL or graduation, or again, if you have somebody that you didn't expect, a returning starter, you know, pick up and leave, you have to be ready to respond. And hopefully you're recruiting and developing the right guys right here in your own locker room. To me, that's the most important portal that we have, is creating an environment where guys they're treated the right way, they're shown value, they're developed in every part of their life, on and off the field. You know, in their journey, they know they show up here every day, that they matter. And I think that's important for us. So I want to still make it very relational, and even in the days of the portal, and as opposed to transactional, and still recruit guys even within the portal that are looking for that. Maybe they're leaving a transactional place and they're looking for somewhere where it's about a lot more than just the ball.
Time for a couple more. Far right side, Ryan Chapman.
Right, you mentioned the influx not going to be the norm, but how much different is that going to look this spring as opposed to last spring, considering that every face was new for you guys with the coaching staff coming in?
Yeah, I mean, having the returners, that's what you're alluding to, the returners, yeah, it's a lot different. I mean, you still go all the way back to the basics of program installation, which we've been doing for the last few months. how you do what you do. It's, everybody needs to always be reminded of what those are. Again, what your standards are, what your values are, what your expectations are of your guys. But there's not as much newness to all of it, and so that's been fun. Guys are able to finish the end of your sentences, both in the meeting room and just talking about, again, program installation. So it's going to look a lot different. Guys know how we practice, how we stretch, what we do after we stretch, all of those things, how we practice, in shells as opposed to, being out of pads. And so there's the processes and the procedures aren't as new for as many guys, but you still can't take any of it for granted when you have, again, 20, 5+ new guys. You got to assume that none of them know what to do, but it's going to be, getting to the end point is going to be a lot easier in a lot of ways.
Okay, second row, right to the front.
Yeah, you mentioned the guys maybe be able to complete your sentences and such, but this is your second year. Obviously, you've had a year to do this now. Is there anything different that you'll be doing in terms of the way you run the spring based on your year of experience as a head coach? Or maybe anything different that you'll be looking for out of the spring based on your experience?
Yeah, you're always developing, mindset. We spend a lot of time on doing that. You're always going to do that. Just being more efficient, probably all the way around. You're always looking at ways to tweak things, new drills to do, how you incorporate different parts of the practice, where they all lie, and so you're always looking at ways to be better that way. So there's some subtle changes, both in how you meet and how you walk through and how you actually practice. But the meat and potatoes of it will remain the same, and having the right kind of balance on and off the field will remain the same as well.
Come back over here to Jesse.
Brent, you've talked about how much you like the versatility of this incoming class, particularly on defense, maybe making an impact on different positions. Just when you have this spring period, how much is the emphasis, especially with some of these young guys, at getting them different looks at different positions, or how much is it maybe just getting them acclimated and adjusted to college?
Well, that's a good point. You don't want to overload guys as they're trying to transition. There's a delicate balance, and so if you are doing it, you're typically doing it with guys that you really feel like, for whatever reason, their maturity, their mental capacity, their skill set, all align with, hey, I'm going to give you a little bit more homework to handle. And if you do that, and you have to be very conscientious and just paying attention to how are they handling that, and if the load's too much, be willing to pull back. And but for us as a defense, we need to find out more about some guys in their versatility to find out, whether it's sub packages or just maybe even competing for a starting position. And some guys might have the opportunity to win a job at multiple spots. So we've identified who we think might be. That'll end up changing by the end of the spring to some point, some degree. We might discover somebody that we feel like, hey, we need to maybe look at them at more than just one position. But this is an important time of the year where you can't remanufacture. You don't have to play games right now. So the ones that you want to find out, hopefully they can be overloaded from a rep count standpoint, because you just can't remanufacture reps. So the reps that you do right now are critical in trying to build a foundation. Maybe it's for discovery on your behalf, or for building up their foundation going into next fall. When you can't have that same philosophy during the fall, just because you want guys to be able to be fresh and what have you. So this is what that time of the year is for, without question. And we'll see a little bit of a handful of guys that we're really anxious to see them at a couple different spots.
Coach, looks like we got one more question in the back left.
Coach Venables, with
Right,
spring
baby.
ball on the way, can you speak on that special feeling that Team 129 has?
Well, what I love about Team 129 is they love to work, and it's a group of guys that have fun. We had as fun a competition and balanced a competition. I told the guys, the offense pulled out way out in front in our competitions the first half of winter conditioning, and then the second half, the defense came out of nowhere and got it all the way to our very last competition, and we tied, which I don't know. I've going on 28, 29 years if I've ever been there. So what I see is competitive balance, competitive stamina, and again, great humility and willingness to go to work. Hopefully that'll bode well on the field.
Absolutely. Now, one more question. What's your favorite animal and why?
My favorite animal, Danny Stutzman is my favorite animal. And he's my favorite animal because that man knows where the football is. He knows how to find the ball. So there's your affirmation for the day. Danny needs a little extra attention, everybody, just so everybody, if you all weren't aware. So,
Don't worry. We'll be in meeting. I'm at home. All right. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, good to see you, Danny.
Thanks,
Is that it?
Thanks, Greg.
All right.